Hi there, it's Thursday the 17th of June 2021, continuing this month in church to focus on the question, is God in control of this world and our lives? And of course the answer according to the Bible is clearly yes. In particular this week we are asking the question, well, how does God's will work out in our lives? And we've been looking at the life of Joseph. So far we've learned that God reveals his will to us as he did to Joseph in the early stages of his life. God's will is revealed to us through his word, but in particular God has plans and purposes for each one of us that he wants to reveal to us. Secondly, we learned yesterday that God sends people to help us to pursue his will. And while there will be people in our life who will hinder us for all kinds of different reasons, God sends people to help us. And the third lesson for us to learn is that God tests us as we go along the pathway seeking to follow his will in our lives. God tests us just as he did Joseph. Genesis 39, 1 and 2. Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. This was after he had his dream and he was thrown into a pit, and then he was sold into slavery and he was taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of the Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. And then he had some ups and downs, and later on we hear that Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him, and he showed him kindness and granted him favour in the eyes of the prison warder. Joseph's life is full of ups and downs. The up of having a dream of God blessing him in his life and raising him to a position of significance, and then the down of being put into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, into the house of an Egyptian Potiphar, and then the up as Potiphar trusted him with his possessions, and then the down as he was falsely accused of molesting Potiphar's wife and he was taken to prison, and then the up as he was put in charge of the prison and he was able to interpret dreams for some of the prisoners there, and then the greater up as one of the prisoners was set free and promised to remember him, and then the down when he was forgotten about, and then finally the up when he was remembered and he interpreted Joseph's dream and he was rewarded by Joseph and rewarded by Pharaoh and put in charge of Pharaoh's household. Such a tale of ups and downs, and if we follow God and seek to do his will, that will be our lives. And these are tests which God brings into our life. He was testing Joseph to see whether Joseph would remain faithful even in the most difficult circumstances, even in prison, even when he was falsely accused. Would Joseph continue to follow God, continue to believe in him? God tests us as we seek to follow his will. That path will never be smooth. It will be full of ups and downs, and some of them will be brought into our life by God to test our faith, to see whether we will continue on the path to follow God's will or not. And we're going to talk later in the week about what happens if we do continue to follow. But God's will is a pathway full of tests. God bless you and help you through these tests in your life as you follow God's will. Speak to you again tomorrow.